Good evening. It is 6:30. Members of council are assembled when you're ready to begin.
Okay, thanks very much, Don. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this committee of the whole meeting of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores. Welcome everybody in the room with us this evening and everyone watching by the live stream. I'm glad everybody's with us. Second item on the agenda is the land acknowledgement. I'll read that this evening. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which consists of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation. We understand this land holds immense significance to the people of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. We appreciate those who live and work alongside us today and who continue the traditions of their ancestors as stewards of the land we are privileged to inhabit. We thank them for the contributions they have made in both caring for the land and in shaping this community. We commit to truth and reconciliation, to acknowledging the truth about what happened to Indigenous peoples because of colonization, and to reconciliation, which begins with each and every one of us. And I'll just take this moment to recognize that this past Friday, June the 21st, was National Indigenous Peoples Day. And on that day, we recognized and celebrated the innumerable contributions and distinct heritage and diverse cultures of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis across Canada. And we were proud on that day to once again raise the Saugeen First Nation flag out front of this building as we celebrate our local Indigenous communities. Our town, the town of Saugeen Shores, remains committed to being a collaborative and supportive partner to neighboring First Nations, guided by the principles of truth and reconciliation. As a local government and public organization, we are dedicated to learning about Indigenous culture, to fostering a better relationship with First Nations and their people, and we commit ourselves to actions that move us forward on a path to healing along with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. All right, our third item then is disclosures of pecuniary interest. Ask any member if you have one of those you'd like to declare at this time. Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. We have no additions, deletions, or amendments. So we're on to open forum, and we do have one open forum request, and it's from Mr. Burhan Mazur, and he's here to talk to us about item 8.2.3, taxi and ride share licensing in Saugeen Shores. And I believe, oh, there he is, Mr. Mazur's online. So you have 3 minutes, Mr. Mazur, whenever you're ready.
Hi there. Hi, everyone. Good evening, esteemed members. My name is Burhan Mazhar, and I'm here to speak about the urgent need of and numerous benefits also of introducing a ride-sharing service in our town. So as we step into a more connected and fast-paced world, our town must embrace the innovative solutions that can enhance the mobility and boost local economy as well. So some of the major benefits to the town would be the convenience, accessibility, increased mobility, reduced wait times. Economic benefits will include some job creations, support for local businesses as well. Some environmental impact would be reduced traffic congestions, lower emissions, and similarly safety and efficiency would be enhanced safety features in our ride sharing GPS tracking and some SOS alerts and all those stuff. And then efficient use of technology also will help us a lot to optimize routes and riders and driver efficiency and everything. Yeah. So this is just an overlook, high level look on the ride sharing services. If I discuss the report that will be discussed shortly. So just a quick, I have a few comments or some points of discussion there. It's good to see that Bruce County is already working on ride sharing program and it's already on the actions list for 2024. I see in the report. As per the report, the current taxi bylaw requires vehicle safety certificates, proof of insurance, vulnerable police sector check for the driver, and a driver's abstract. So all these requirements are really good and should be implemented in ride sharing program as well. However, one thing which I don't see a good reason for is a designated number plate on each taxi issued by the town specifically. So I think Ontario plates should be enough as the ride sharing service provider will have a database maintained for those number plates and vehicles anyway. So that's one thing, one comment. The other things are the current fees model also, it's not very efficient for ride sharing program because ride sharing program provides flexibility not only to the riders, but also to the drivers. So let's say if a driver just buy a taxi license for, I think 220 something we have in our town. and then the driver is not driving much, let's say 6 to 8 months he's not driving, then he's not using the license efficiently. So it's not a good role model for ride sharing services. It might be good for individual taxis, but not for ride sharing. Therefore, one thing is good, as mentioned in the report as well, deregulation of existing taxi bylaw. That should take place, but up to an extent only, not in complete full. The town should keep taxi and ride sharing both services simultaneously. While taxi services should follow the existing bylaw and ride sharing services should follow a new bylaw. This is typical model in all other locations. Even if you see Toronto or Mississauga, big cities as well, they have both services. One is governed by the municipality or town, and the ride sharing is also by town, but it's a separate system.
We have passed over 3 minutes there, Mr. Mazur, so if you could wrap up, please.
Yeah, it's almost there. Also, in my opinion, we should not suspend the existing licenses. We should keep both of them, because in other cities also it's the same thing. Both things are coming up. Yeah, that's all for now. Thank you for the time and consideration.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving on now on to, well, we have no delegations and we have no public meetings, so we're on to reports of municipal officers. And that brings us on to 8.2 staff reports. We have 3 staff reports there this evening, and the first one is on the 3-year, 12-month ICE pilot program, and the Director of Community Services has a report.
Sorry, I'm just dealing with the glare there. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Tonight is an exciting night. I'm a Leafs fan, but extremely happy to support our Oilers in Game 7 tonight. And it's also an exciting night to be in recreation or to be a summer ice user in Southwestern Ontario. Residents of Saugeen Shores pride ourselves in being an active, recreational, and sports-minded community that offers an array of activities for all skill levels who are interested in participating in their sport or activity of their choice. We don't have to look any further than the AWC construction, which is one of the largest projects in Saugeen Shores history. Lamont Sports Park Phase 1 opened last year. Phase 2, the accessible playground will be opening shortly, and the diamonds, the 2 remaining diamonds will be available for use next year. We have 9 soccer fields, 4 outdoor basketball courts, beach volleyball courts, and of course, our heartbeat of our skating and hockey organizations, the Plex and the Coliseum. Saugeen Shores is extremely fortunate to have 2 great recreation facilities that house everything from early morning figure skating and hockey practices, ball hockey, school events, recreational skating competitions, skill development camps and training, special events, public skating, adult skating, parent and tot skating, and let's not forget to mention our favorite Friday night activity, packing the Plex for the Winterhawks. So this report is presented to Council for consideration in response to a delegation at the January 8th Committee of the Whole meeting to consider the service level increase of a 3-year, 12-month ICE pilot program for Saugeen Shores. A shout out and thank you, and I see a few folks here in the crowd tonight, to Janet, Steve, Gord, Ryan, and Mike, who have been the face of this request. They've put in considerable amount of time and energy into the background research and contacting likely user groups and spreading the word of this potential opportunity. I also want to take this opportunity to thank our staff, Lisa, Frank, Steve, Corby, and Colleen, who contributed a great deal of time towards the information in the report that is being presented this evening for your consideration. The information within the report has been divided into categories, and I'll provide Council with a high-level summary, followed by the recommendation that's before Council this evening. So 21 municipalities within Southwestern Ontario were contacted to inquire about year-round ice. The chart in Appendix B outlines the findings. 9 of the 21 that we reached out to do offer 12-month ice, with the closest being Owen Sound, Goderich, and Ayton. The average utilization of the 9 municipalities range between 40 hours to 122 hours per week, with the majority charging their prime time rate for summer ice. Council received a report from Jill Root at the June 10th meeting with a presentation from Kevin Lyons regarding the flash vote platform that is being utilized for citizen satisfaction measurement. Kevin has graciously joined us this evening remotely to provide support for any survey or data questions that council may have tonight. So it's no surprise that the 12-month ICE was an extremely popular topic through the 2 survey methods with a total of just over 1,300 participants. The scientific panel, which is a cross-section of a few hundred residents, ensures that the survey results are accurate and representative of the entire community, and we had 233 participants participate in that. The open survey was launched in tandem with the scientific panel, and it was open to anybody interested in the survey, not limiting to residents of Saugeen Shores, and also did not limit the amount of times a person could participate. And we had just under 1,100 participants in that survey. So generally, those who participate in a public survey strongly feel one way or another on the particular issue or topic. A link to the complete survey results and comments is included in the staff report. What the data told us and contributing factors to help form the recommendation for council are majority of the public survey participants are ICE users, and majority of the participants would utilize year-round ICE if offered. Majority of the panel survey, so the scientific panel survey, are not regular ICE users. They would not plan to utilize year-round ICE, but they do support the municipality trying the program. The refrigeration and dehumidification system are the heart and circulatory system in an arena. The cube system at the Plex is a geothermal system that does not run the same as a standard ammonia and brine system like what we have at the Coliseum. There are potential benefits and efficiencies to the cube system, safer operations, the ability to utilize waste heat, and lower operating costs. The system at the Plex is 25 years old, considered new technology at the time of installation, and it's fair to say that technology, equipment, and systems have improved since then. Based on their experience with the Plex, our current service provider indicates that the existing cube system does have the capacity to operate in the summer months. There are capital upgrades that are recommended for the cube system, and they are identified within the currently funded capital program in 2028, 29, and 30. Providing year-round ICE may require these replacements to occur sooner than currently projected, but there is no anticipated impact on the special levy that supports the 10-year capital program. If the pilot program is approved, a more comprehensive review following year 1 will occur, and consideration to advance the capital improvements will be made. It is important to note that the refrigeration system cannot be running while the capital upgrades occur, so we will look at sequencing the projects while still offering year-round ICE for the downtime, potentially at the Coliseum if required. In conversations with the project team, offering 12-month pilot ICE program at the Plex beginning in 2025 will not have an impact to the project or the schedule of the AWC. Adjustments to one component of the project has occurred to assist with the coordination of the pilot program, and that's the hydro and transformer connection. At the time of preparing this report, the estimated timeline for the completion of the hydro and transformer connection is early April, and the duration is 5 days. So the Plex will be without power, and we cannot maintain ICE during that time. We are able to keep ICE in at the Coliseum for the first month or so in 2025 for the pilot program to allow for the connection of at the Plex to take place. Once the connection occurs, the ice making process will begin at the Plex, and once ready, the pilot program can transfer over to the Plex and the ice will be removed at the Coliseum in time for the off-season events. The construction manager and project team supports the plan outlined within this report to facilitate the extension of the season in 2025 and are committed to ensuring that all exterior work will be assessed on a day-to-day basis with proper signage and fencing to ensure safety and access to the site is available. Off-season floor rentals. The Plex and Coliseum host several events outside of ICE operations. The off-season events include, but are not limited to, home shows, trade shows, concerts, antique shows, ball hockey, cadet training, and lacrosse. If the pilot program is approved, the existing off-season events would be required to relocate to the Coliseum. In preparation for this report, the existing Plex off-season annual event organizers were contacted to inform them of the potential program and ask their opinion of relocation of their event to the Coliseum. A summary of the 3 responses received is included as Appendix C to the report. Some highlight of the concerns outlined from the event organizer include the reduced capacity at the Coliseum, potential reduction for revenue for the events being hosted there. Hosting events at the Coliseum may increase the cost to their particular events, lack of kitchen facilities, and accessibility limitations. For the pilot program, the existing off-season events can be accommodated at the Coliseum. There may be limitations for availability for new events, but that is unknown at this time until new event organizers reaches out to the town. Tying nicely into the off-season floor rental accommodation topic is the option to purchase an ice cover system. For awareness, this is a flooring system, different grades or materials that is installed over the ice to accommodate off-season events. Appendix D in the report outlines both the capital and operation considerations for the purchase and service level increase of an ice cover system. The estimated capital cost for an ice cover system for the Plex ranges between $225,000 to $270,000. The estimate does not include the cost for a storage facility. On the operational side, this would be a new service level and amenity for the town of Saugeen Shores. There are additional factors that should be contemplated when considering the purchase of an ice cover system. As mentioned earlier, the 3-year pilot program can proceed without the ice cover system being purchased at this time, as all the bookings can occur at the Coliseum. The purchase of an ice cover system is not currently included in the capital program that is funded by the special levy. So it is recommended that the purchase of the system, operational logistics, and associated costs be considered after the pilot program is complete and added to a future year business plan for council consideration if the decision to provide 12-month ice on a permanent basis is made by council. Council has heard me say this before. The Plex and Coliseum are some of the highest utility consumers and typically responsible for over half of the operating budget of an arena. The chart in Appendix E outlines the average and previous current year utility costs for the Plex and Coliseum. As mentioned, the cube system does operate differently than ammonia-based system. The startup process is a little bit longer. It takes weeks to achieve set points compared to days with a typical ammonia system. At the Plex, in a typical year, the cooling of the arena shell will start over a month in advance, and the refrigeration plant would be started 3 weeks prior to the first skate. It's anticipated that the annual cost of the Plex would increase by 20%, and this assumption was applied in the overall financial summary to achieve the estimated net performance of the pilot program. The anticipated utility cost increase for the duration of the program is just over $138,000. The costs outlined in the report are estimates only, and there are factors that may impact the fluctuation in consumption and costs. Appendix F outlines the current staffing model of the Plex and Coliseum and also the staffing requirements for the 3-year pilot program. Saugeen Shores is not unique when it comes to arena operators wearing different hats throughout the year, performing parks and facility roles in the off-season. There are currently 3 seasons for our operators. So the ice season, which is October 1st to March 31st, when both rinks are in full operation. There's limited park responsibilities with 7 operators rotating through the schedule, accommodating rentals from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, 7 days a week for the ice season. The shoulder season is April, August, and September. This is one of the most demanding times for our staff, as it is a juggling act to operate the rinks with the ice still in at the Plex and maintain park outdoor responsibilities at the same time. And then we have the off season, which currently is May, June, and July. So there's no ice. Summer events do occur, and staff generally focus on outdoor operations and support events inside when required. Council hears me speak passionately about our staff all year long, and especially during the business plan presentation. Our staff, and that's all staff, that's operators, customer service, booking coordinator, part-time students, supervisors, and managers make all of this possible. They master the ability to wear these different hats. They juggle schedules and responsibilities while digging deep behind the scenes to ensure the experience that the customer gets when at our venues is the best that it can be. So I'm extremely grateful for the staff that make it possible for us to bring forward recommendations like this pilot program. In order for us to manage and operate the 3-year pilot program successfully and not allow our existing outdoor responsibilities to slip, we require additional staff resources. It is believed that if the pilot program is approved, the program will be popular and there will be a demand for ice at the Plex between April and August. The staffing model will allow for ice rentals to occur on a regular basis and not be limited to staff availability. It's important to note that the recommended staffing model of the program has been designed to accommodate ice rentals to promote a higher utilization during the pilot program and not compromise the existing level of staff's responsibilities outside the arena operations. It's anticipated that 2 seasonal operator 4s will be required for the first 2 years of the pilot program, and the addition of a 3rd operator will be required in year 3. The seasonal positions are 5-month contract positions and will be classified as operator 4s within the collective union agreement. It is anticipated that administrative responsibilities to facilitate the 12-month ICE pilot program will be able to be managed within the existing operating budget and staff complement. Following the first year, an analysis of impact and service level will be reviewed, and if additional support is required, it will be requested through the 26th business plan for council consideration. The estimated staff cost for the duration of the pilot program is just over $176,000. The link to the 2024 fees and charges bylaw is provided in the report, and Appendix G provides a summary of the related fees for ice rentals. It's recommended and included in the financial projections that the prime time rate be applied for all bookings that occur within the pilot program. The fees and charges is approved annually by council, and the estimated rates included within this report are subject to change. Through discussions with other municipalities, it's typical for the prime time rate to be applied for summer ice rentals. Appendix H provides, we're almost there. Appendix H provides council with utilization scenarios and potential revenue based on those assumptions. As mentioned, the recommendation is to apply the prime time rate for the pilot program, but we felt it was important to show scenarios if the rate was reduced or increased and the impact on the bottom line. It's simple. If we reduce the hourly rate, we do not generate as much revenue and jeopardize the bottom line of the program. If we increase the hourly rate, we may not stay competitive with surrounding municipalities that currently offer summer ice, and we lose customers. And we know that people will drive for summer ice. We want to provide it here, and we want it to provide it at a reasonable and responsible rate to keep as many folks here and attract others that may be driving elsewhere. Applying a medium popularity estimate for utilization, which includes 50 hours per week in year 1, 60 hours per week in year 2, and 70 hours per week in year 3, and applying the prime time rate, the anticipated revenue for the duration of the pilot program is just over $578,000. I want to emphasize that at the time of writing this report, the ice booking utilization for the program is unknown. We do anticipate that it will be popular, increasing each year, and the staffing model included in the report encourages, promotes, and will accommodate higher utilization than estimated. So we'll be ready. So what does all of this mean? When crunching the numbers, where do we land? Appendix I provides analysis of the current operating deficit of the Plex and the Coliseum. So the 5-year average of the Plex deficit is just over $397,000. The 5-year average of the operating deficit at the Coliseum is just over $244,000. The plan outlined to advance the 3-year pilot program and the estimates provided projects that the program will have an estimated positive net impact of just over $248,000 for the duration of the 3-year pilot. The calculations included in the report are considered estimates and should be noted that there are factors that may contribute to the increase or decrease of the operating costs of the pilot program. So in summary, it's anticipated that the 12-month ICE will be successful and increase in popularity for the duration of the program. In addition to residents that will utilize the off-season ice, it's anticipated that the program will bring visitors to Saugeen Shores, which will increase ice utilization and have a positive impact on the local businesses. Saugeen Shores is fortunate to have 2 facilities to host off-season events. The existing off-season events can be accommodated at the Coliseum for the duration of the pilot program. A decision on the purchase and service level of the ice cover system is not required for the pilot to advance, and this decision can be made at a later date. In consultation with the project team, there is no concern that the 12-month ICE pilot program beginning in 2025 will impact the AWC construction project or schedule. And lastly, the estimated positive net impact for the project or for the pilot program is just over $248,000. This improvement could assist in lowering that operating deficit of the Plex, which I shared the current 5-year annual average. If the pilot program is approved, the proposed next steps is included within the report, and that does include an annual summary report to council of each year of the pilot program. So the recommendation is before you tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. So there is a recommendation. I'll read it and then we can take any questions or comments. It's recommended that council approve the 3-year, 12-month ICE pilot program commencing in 2025, and that council directs staff to include the anticipated cumulative new revenue of $248,678 for the 2025 to 2027 12-month ICE pilot program in the 2025 business plan. Questions or comments from members? The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just wanted to say to Shraj, Kristen, I've seen a lot of staff reports in my day, and this is probably one of the best researched, documented, presented reports I've ever seen. And it's really, really well done. Really, really well done. And we're seeing more and more of those from staff, and I just really appreciate all the great work all staff do with staff reports. It's really quite incredible. And see the new president, Matt Allen, here tonight. Congratulations, Matt, on your new presidency. And it wasn't long. These are more comments, right, than anything. But it wasn't long ago that 3 years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, that I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure about Sunrise. I'll admit that. I'm not hiding behind that. And because I really wasn't seeing this kind of report and these kinds of numbers coming out of what I saw 2 or 3 years ago is not what I'm seeing today. When I spoke back in January, I was, after speaking to Janet Dawson about this, and congratulations, Janet, to all your team, and Stephen, Gordon, Mike, I'm missing a couple of names, but when I spoke to Janet back in the early new year, and she told me about some of the numbers, some of the interest in groups wanting to come to Saugeen Shores, the numbers looked really favorable. And I'm seeing here a $248,000 positive impact to our bottom line. How do you argue with that? That's just a great news story. And if we can reduce the operating deficit for the Plex Coliseum, why would we not want to do that? And so I think this is just fabulous, bringing all that summer business into our facility here at the Plex. It was designed, that system, back in 1999, 2000, the ice cube system. It was designed for summer ice. It was designed to bring in summer use. And that's what we're back to now, is bringing back summer ice. So it's just a good news story. And I think that, bringing all those people in from out of town, the economic spin-offs it's going to bring to the community, it's just a great thing. And the other thing, you talk about the ice cover system, there's merit to that. There's a cost to that. There's a storage building. It's $275,000 to do it. But, and that wouldn't be done in the first 3 years. I heard you say it'd be something we would discuss after the 3-year pilot. Is that correct, Franz?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. That is the part of the recommendation tonight, is that purchase doesn't happen right now.
It gets looked at afterwards. So, well, again, I just, the community input, 1,300 participants, 300 residents on the panel unanimously supported this. I think it's just a no-brainer. And I know now why you said you couldn't get the report here at the end of June, because there's a ton of detail in here. And again, just tremendous job. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments, questions? The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. As a kid in the early 70s, there was ice in the Southampton Arena before the Coliseum for at least half the summer. There was a great hockey school there with Jim Schoenfeld from the Buffalo Sabres, and figure skating school run by, I think her name was Diane Smeltzer from Owen Sound. It did attract people from a wide area into Southampton for a week at a time during the summer. So there's wonderful merit to having ice available. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. The report estimates some revenue over time. If after the first year, if we're not even close to that revenue figure, is there something built into this that would provide for some other kinds of consideration to happen? Because it is nice to imagine an increase over the 3 years, but it's expecting certain things. Do we have any ability to review this as we go through?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So as indicated in the next step section, is that we will bring an annual summary report back to council, and we'll report out and measure against the data that's in this report here. I do think that when we surveyed other municipalities, they range between 40 hours and 122 hours per week. Some of the higher ones are maybe larger city centers. I think Owen Sound, which would be a comparator, is just around 90 or just over 90 hours per week. So I do think that our estimates are not too high. I think that they're conservative. I think that they're fairly accurate based on the data that we have here. And ultimately, it would be up to council, I guess, upon those annual reports to provide direction otherwise.
Thank you. And the second question, I know you only had 3 responses to the request for information from people that would hold their events over at the Coliseum rather than at the Plex. 2 of them did express concern, though, about a number of items. And I would like to see, at some point, a really good report, perhaps not as detailed as this, because this one's very good, about what would be required in the Coliseum to make it much more attractive as a venue for bigger events that don't involve ice in the summer. And, accessibility was mentioned. There's no elevator that enables the use of the 2 areas on the second floor at both the end of the annex and also the Coliseum space itself. The washrooms, accessible washrooms are well, there's one, it's basically a closet up at the front because there's stairs everywhere there. So the upgrades required there would certainly be a good topic for the near future too, because it is important, I think, to have a big scale event space available in the community. And Rotary certainly has done an amazing job with their concerts and have expressed concern. The antique show's got an awfully long history as well. However, there are some regular customers who've used the Coliseum quite successfully for periods of time. So I think there's a nice mix there that you could get some good information. I did want to ask a question about one of the items that you presented. It's page 13 of 18. It's the chart which has the previous 4-year actuals and approved 2024 approved wages and associated overhead costs for both the complex and the Coliseum. I just wanted to ask why the wages and overhead number dropped so dramatically for 2024. It seems to have come down about $200,000. Is that because of the construction, or is there something else that's caused such a dramatic reduction in the anticipated wages and associated overhead costs for the Plex?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So I did clarify with our finance staff as well as what happens as a correction or the allocation and where staff spends their time. So it wasn't that we had additional staff that wasn't approved by council, but it could be just where staff actually spend their time. So if they spend more time at the Coliseum, their timesheets reflect that, and that the budget is allocated to the Coliseum budget, same as the Plex and same as the park. So it just really depends on where staff are spending their time.
Okay, except the Coliseum number stayed very much the same. So it's just that the $200,000 drop in the Plex. Is it because staff are working somewhere else?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the question. So it could be that they were reallocated into the Parks or Facilities Division. What I can do is talk with HR and Finance again and just provide council a follow-up email with that information.
So we get Councillor Davinsky next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Kristen. This is an incredible report, Kristen. Thank you very much for all the detail, and just makes our job easier. Maybe not yours, but it makes certainly our job easier. I have one question, and the answer is probably in here, I think in one of the attachments, but we talked about having 2 employees for the first 2 years, and then we add a 3rd employee in the 3rd year. Why do we need that 3rd employee in the 3rd year?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So we anticipate that the average use and the utilization is going to increase over the 3 years. So we felt that we wanted to see how the first 2 years of the pilot program, I guess not being too selfish, the pilot program goes, that we can manage with 2 staff, but once it hits a certain amount of hours that the ice will be rented, it will require a third staff person. So I guess I could also add to that is that as we bring forward the annual summary reports to council, and perhaps that 3rd operator isn't required by the time that we bring that report through, is that we wouldn't ask for that report or that additional staff person unless it was warranted.
Well, by golly, I hope you need that third employee in the third year. A message, Mr. Mayor, to those that presented their delegations earlier. You've seen what's happened here, and I'm sure council is going to support this recommendation. Now it's up to the groups that said, yes, we can do this, and we know others that will. Get the word out, and thank you for coming tonight. And get the word out, and let's make this a smashing success even in year one. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you, Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Thanks for the report. And just for those that aren't, real good at looking at these figures sometime, the deficit of the Plex is approximately 400,000 a year, correct? And with the, it's anticipated that over 3 years, the deficit would be cut by 248,000. So it's roughly going to reduce the deficit of the Plex by about $80-some thousand per year, correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm just going to find that chart to verify, but I believe that you're correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are there further questions or comments from members? Well, thanks very much. I mean, it's already been said, Kristen, that this is a great report. And what I want to say is it's a much more robust report than the one we received back in 2020 when this was last considered by council, at which time it was estimated that it would be a net cost to the municipality, I think, of somewhere in the range of maybe $30,000 to $50,000 a year to do this. And it was certainly on the basis of that back in at that time that I was unable to support putting in ice in the summertime at that time. But with this report, it becomes clear that there is a path forward to do this and have it not negatively impact the taxpayer. In fact, offset the, as has been pointed out, the deficit that the Plex runs and will continue to run. So I think that, that makes a really clear, as has been pointed out, argument to advance this, have a look at it, see if those numbers can be achieved, see if we can have that impact and reduce that operating cost of the Plex. These are very expensive facilities, and anything that we can do to reduce that operating cost at the same time as enhancing services to our residents, I think is a net win. So certainly on the basis of the work you have done here and the report you have presented, I have no difficulty supporting it. Looking forward to seeing this. And as Councillor Davinsky pointed out, to all the users here in the room and everybody far and wide who may be interested in using this facility, we certainly encourage you to come out. Bottom line is it will now depend on the success over these 3 years, achieving these numbers or doing better. What will happen beyond that, right? If we run deficits, if it becomes a burden on the taxpayer rather than a benefit, the program's unlikely to continue. So the thing now is to get folks out there, use that ice, let's book it all up, and then you'll have a 12-month ice program for now and for the future. So thanks very much for your report, and to everybody who's contributed to this, great work, and we much appreciate it. So with that, you've heard the recommendation, and I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. All right, so now we're moving on to item 8.2.2, fire prevention and public education. And we have Rob Atkinson here to give us the report. Deputy Fire Chief.
Good evening, members of council. Thanks for having me here. This is the information report further to the community risk assessment presented in September of 2023. Some target areas were identified in the CRA community risk assessment. We are planning on a more proactive approach to help educate the public using an expanded public education program to achieve compliance. I think information is in the report, and I'm happy to take any questions on this report.
Geez, I was just about to take a drink of water. That was so quick, I didn't have a chance. Okay, so we have a recommendation here. It's recommended that the council receive the fire prevention and public education report for information. Questions or comments from members? Councillor Halpin. Okay, the deputy mayor, and then we'll work our way down.
Thank you. And to the deputy fire chief, the report highlights about a number of activities that potentially could happen within our community. Can I assume that public education activities would also be possible, say at the Safety Village down at Sulphur Springs or at other points in the county if requested?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, you are correct. And we actually, in the past few weeks, have had numerous trips down to the Safety Village with our education team, and it's been very successful.
Thank you. And I wanted to ask, because it just wasn't clear to me when I read the policy or the program information, who can actually make a request for an inspection?
Anyone can make a request if a tenant feels that they are living unsafely, or if a building owner wants to be more proactive, anyone can make that request, and we will accommodate depending on the nature of the request, what division will look after that request.
Councillor Grace, then Davinsky, then Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Rob, thank you for the report. I guess the thing that is just a comment and also kind of follows on the point that you just made about requests for inspections, but it seems to me that this is also very, it's got a good balance of protecting people's privacy. And yet, and so that what you're recommending, going with public education and various types of public education strategies to reach out to people in terms of homeowners and that kind of thing. So I think that's good that this new policy allows that. And thank you for all the information in here. I think it's money well spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davinsky, and then Mayette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you. A statement here, Deputy Chief, and this may have been partially answered. The community risk assessment also identified that some residential occupancy practices are occurring in Saugeen Shores. And although necessary in the current housing shortage, climate may pose a fire or a life safety risk to the occupants. To me, that's a pretty serious statement. Are we doing anything about that? Are you allowed to do anything about that? Or is this what will solve that issue down the road?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, you are correct. This is it is a practice that has taken place. We know that there is a lot of rooms being rented and housing shortage. So we are very confident in our public education team to educate about the unsafe fire safety practices, ensuring working smoke alarms to keep our residents and visitors safe.
And through you, is that done on a volunteer basis as far as the owners or renters are concerned, or can the fire department force that issue?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. There is different avenues depending on the willingness of the resident or the owner, but we will be knocking on doors through neighborhoods that we know there's many vehicles trying to educate, and if we aren't successful in that route, we do have the right through warrant through our Fire Prevention Protection Act.
Thank you very much. Great job, and look forward to, well, as I said, at budget time, fire and police. That's what we need, and I'm not going to fuss about budget or anything else like that. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, thanks for the report. It's a good read. My question is, where you find a multi-residential situation, whether it's rent borders, rooms, or somebody has a basement apartment, and an inspection is done, and the result of that inspection identifies that there are major structural fire barriers, drywall repairs, or installation, where there's major things to be done. Would there be a grace period for the owner to be able to do that, those types of repairs or upgrades, or would it be shut the operation down until you have it done?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, there's a grace period. The we work with an order of compliance, and we can define the time frame needed to make those required repairs. If it's structural, as you're saying, it would involve the building department to ensure that the integrity of the building is fire safe. But there is a grace period, there is a working time depending on the severity of the infractions.
Thank you. Further comments from members? Well, thanks very much, Rob, for this report. And, I think we have been tremendously successful in the town of Saugeen Shores in terms of preventing structure fires, right? We have very few structure fires on an annual basis in the town, and that's right. Well, the chief's going to knock on wood. I should too. I guess I can say it. He can't. But it's true. It's just a fact. And it's not by accident, right? It's because of guys like you, our fire department, our building department, all sorts of folks doing the right things in terms of education, in terms of regulatory enforcement, making sure that, people's homes and businesses and rental units, et cetera, are safe in our community, and they are. And this is just another example of the work that you guys are doing to make sure that continues to be the case and hopefully improves even more. So thanks for this work. It's much appreciated. I think it strikes the right balance. And I really just wanted to say thanks to our fire department and all the folks for the work you're doing on these things. So with that, we've heard the recommendation, and I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. Thanks. All right, so now we're on to our final report, which is on taxi and rideshare licensing in Saugeen Shores, and the clerk.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Charbonneau. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Brazier for presenting tonight at our open forum. It was good to hear from a rideshare service provider and to speak about the benefits that such a program brings to our community. So the intent of the report this evening is to, sorry, there's a bit of feedback going, or is it just me? Just me, okay. I'm hearing my own feedback. Interesting. So the intent of the report this evening is to present council with some options with regards to taxi and rideshare licensing for the town of Saugeen Shores. The recommendation is that the fees be suspended while these discussions are occurring. And with regards to taxi licensing regime and bylaw 98-2004, and that an investigation of a countywide taxi and rideshare licensing program be brought forward in the 2025 business plan for consideration. I welcome any questions council may have. Thank you.
Okay, so there is a recommendation. It is that council direct staff to suspend the collection of fees for taxi licensing regime of bylaw 98-2004, and that the investigation of a countywide taxi and ride-sharing licensing program be brought forward in the 2025 business plan for consideration. Questions or comments from members? The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, and through you to the clerk. The last paragraph in your concluding comments, just want to confirm that when you say the licensing regime is recommended to be suspended, that's just the fee part, because it goes on to say that current licenses would remain, and taxis and ride-sharing service providers would be asked to submit the documentation requested in the bylaw, but no fees would be collected. That's the intent, right? That there still would be sort of an awareness of who's in town providing the service, so that there's some assurance to the public that there's a bit of an oversight, albeit without fees, until something else comes into play. That's the intention, correct?
Certainly, thank you. Through you, Mayor Charbonneau. Exactly, that is correct. So there would be the continuation of collecting the safety certificate for the vehicles, as well as a vehicle or driver's abstract, vulnerable sector police check, and also insurance certificate for the drivers.
And the gentleman making the deputation at the beginning, he was very specific about a license plate that was required. Would that still be part of this, or is that part of the fee situation?
Through you, Mayor Charbonneau, a license plate is a requirement for any vehicle under the Highway Traffic Act. So
I think he was implying that we had a specific one that we issued. I don't know if that's true, but he was asking that we consider not requiring that. So I think it went above and beyond the Highway Traffic Act.
So I would need to verify with Mr. Mazzara to make sure that I was understanding exactly what he was implying, but what we have is a decal, if you will, or a identification badge that we have reviewed the documentation and that it's issued back to the driver and it's in their vehicle.
Further comments? Councillor Grease.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Don, for the report, and I'm glad to see that we're moving ahead in terms of a cooperative, a collaboration with the county on trying to provide more transportation options for people who don't have those options available to them privately from their own resources. So thank you for your work on this.
Further comments? Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I do support having a decal or something to identify a vehicle that's going to be used for ride sharing, whether it's a taxi or anything like that. And I believe that's a small detail, but could give someone a great deal of safety that they know that they're getting into the right vehicle with ride share. So I support a continued identification of a vehicle in that manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? Well, thanks. I may be a bit of an outlier on this one. Thank you to the clerk first and foremost for this report. This arose as a result of a conversation that I had with Mr. Mezer and as well as with Uber over the past several months. And the feedback that I have received, particularly from the larger ride sharing organizations like Uber, and I've mentioned this at council before when we were considering a previous resolution from another municipality, is that the hodgepodge of regulatory regimes in rural areas, every small town with its own licensing regime across all of southwestern Ontario, is a problem for ride-sharing companies like Uber in that they can't justify dealing with all those potential different regulations. They need more consistency, which is why we've seen the request for the province essentially to take on the licensing regime, if you like, as opposed to having it done municipality by municipality. An alternative is to do it at a regional level. But in my view, I really continue to be at a loss as to why we regulate this industry at all. It's the only industry I can think of that the municipality regulates. I don't know what makes taxis so unique that we have to regulate them. Why don't we regulate massage therapy? I mean, why don't we regulate? There's 100 things, there's a million different businesses we could regulate. We don't regulate them. So I'm not sure what we achieve by regulating this particular industry or why we target this industry for regulation. And by doing so, we are creating this scenario where new services can't come into the market or aren't coming in because we're in the way. Our regulatory regimes are actively preventing these ride-sharing companies from entering our market. So in my view, we should eliminate the regulatory regime altogether, or at least suspend it until we can look at it at a more regional level. Hopefully we could do that, lead on this, and other municipalities would follow us in the region. And we might see an Uber or other ride-sharing companies enter our market more quickly. And I think to me, what does the public want? What I hear about over and over again is they want rideshare, right? They want rideshare. When is it? Why? In fact, we've been accused lots of times of actually having actively prevented rideshare from coming into the community, which isn't true. But I hear lots that why can't we have rideshare at a bigger level? So this is part of the reason why. It's because of these regulations that we have in place. So I certainly don't have any difficulty eliminating the fees, but I would like to see us go further. I'd like to see us suspend the entire licensing program and allowing taxis like every other business in Saugeen Shores to proceed without requiring a license from the town. It seems unfair, unnecessary, and all it achieves is preventing competition in the marketplace. So that's my view. Councillor Stack.
Just a couple of comments on the regulation. I think where I would stand in terms of ride shares, I think a lot of the other businesses in town are actually subject to a variety of other regulations. I think it's important. You used RMTs, they have a regulatory board. They're required to be licensed, background checked. I think there's a lot of value in some of the other regimes. I think the point with rideshare is twofold. I don't think I'd be curious, or I am curious to know whether the only reason we don't have Uber, or I can't remember the other one, it's been a while, it's the Uber and Uber 2.0, Lyft, thank you, is because of a regulatory regime or because there's simply not a huge incentive for folks in this community to participate in that regime. I don't know, could be both, could be either. But I would say, and I think it was touched on by someone else, when we were talking about the decals, I think there's a value in having people doing rideshare programs being documented somewhere, particularly given some of the conditions of vulnerability that people taking rideshares are. So whether it's an accessibility issue, or I'll just be more specific, women coming home from a bar, there's an added value in having some form of regulation. I think there's plenty of evidence where these programs have led to all sorts of challenges. So I would just be cautious about favoring deregulation in this particular context, given some of the safety concerns.
Thank you. I saw somebody else's hand go up. Councilor Grace.
Councillor Stack has said what I was going to say, so thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? I guess the only point I would make is that accrues more to the benefit of the industry, right? The industry can provide it, can demonstrate that it's safe and can do that itself. It does that. The taxpayer doesn't need to build a regime to demonstrate the safety of any industry. Once again, we don't do it with massage therapy. Massage therapy is a place where people are vulnerable. All right, they go in, it's a vulnerable spot. We don't regulate that industry because we rely on the industry itself to do that, so that, and to demonstrate its own level of safety. The taxi industry can do the same thing. So I think that this doesn't go far enough, and so I won't vote against it because I think we need to do something. But I just wanted to make that point anyway. Council, or the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I believe the point of the report is to for us to provide direction for the clerk to approach both the county and every other municipality in Bruce County to initiate a discussion about this, which perhaps will lead to what your suggestion is, or what you're suggesting is a better path forward. But until that discussion takes place, because rideshare would cross municipal boundaries, it would take people in different directions. And I think this is a good first step. And in fact, the discussion with the rest of the county and the other municipalities may very well lead to what you're saying, but I don't think we need to take that step right now. That I'm willing to wait to hear some more information about how this could work countywide. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Understood. And perhaps you're right. Hopefully we can do this quickly. So with that, you've heard the recommendation. I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. All right. So now we are on to communications and petitions, and there are 6 items there. I'll ask any member if you wish to speak to any one of those. Councillor Stack.
Thank you. And I think the item that was mislabeled and may not have been intentionally in there, but it's in there, so I'll speak to it anyways. I just thought it's the City of Pembroke asking Premier Ford to establish a mental health drug addiction treatment and residential rehabilitation facility serving the county of Renfrew. And I thought it was something, I know we have some programming across the county, but I certainly thought it'd be something we may want to, whether it's today or at some point in the future, engage in some sort of communication with the provincial government. I think there is a challenge we've experienced in this community and across the county. So I just thought it was worth discussing or raising.
And I can respond. As I mentioned at our last meeting, I was at the opening of the Addictions and Mental Health Center that was just opened in the city of Owen Sound, which was the first in the province. And so the city of Pembroke just doesn't have what we happen to have now, and nobody does except our region. So we're on the leading edge of this, I think, and hopefully that facility will be successful. And maybe if it is, we'll see more of these types of facilities roll out in our region. Certainly, the councillor is quite right. It's a pressing issue and needs attention. And so hopefully what we're doing works. Are there further comments on any of these items? I don't see any, so we are now at the end of the committee of the whole, so we'll look for statements by members. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Being cognizant of the fact that people want to leave to go watch a hockey game, I'll just mention a couple of things. I was one of, I think, a couple of counselors who was able to go on the tour to Chantry Island that Marine Heritage offered up for staff and members of council. I went with a group of seasonal staff members and also the municipal solicitor. Our tour was cut a little bit short by the weather, but it was a very good opportunity, first of all, to talk to a lot of people outside of this kind of setting. But the students were also particularly enthusiastic about their ability to talk about other things going on in town in the way that they do their jobs. I'll also mention that tomorrow there will be the swearing in of a new cadet with the police, Noah Ross. And about a week and a half ago, we swore in a new special constable, Matthew Drose. So that's two new situations with the police service. And I and Councillor Davinsky attended along with Matt Prentice, who's at the back. We sat in the back of a classroom, a grade 8 classroom at GC Houston last week, while Aqua presented a One Water presentation. It was the first one in our area. And I think that if they do this more, a lot more kids will understand how the water system works and how wastewater systems work. And it's all very good in terms of the education of future citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, the Vice Deputy Mayor.
Just one quick item, Mr. Mayor, and I just want to thank Laura Cronenberg and her mom and all the volunteers who work so hard at bringing in these tournaments from around the province, these teams from around the province for ball tournaments at Lamont Sports Park. There are 10 tournaments scheduled, I think, for Lamont Sports Park this summer. I was really involved in umpiring now, but there was 26 teams here last weekend. Not this past, but the weekend before. 26 teams from around the province that come in and just absolutely love Lamont Sports Park. And the economic spin-offs, every motel room booked here in Saugeen Shores, Kincardine, and Overdown Sound. And we could use another hotel here. But I just want to thank the volunteers that work that weekend and every weekend. There isn't hardly a weekend free at the Lamont Sports Park this summer, and it's working. It's really working. People are loving our new facility, and thank you so much to all the volunteers for making it happen.
Councillor Grace.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Davinsky.
Nothing here, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Mayette. Nothing. Councillor Halpin. Nothing. Councillor Stack. She's got nothing. Councillor Jahame. Well, lots of shaking heads. Okay, well, I won't add too much then. You guys want to get out of here. So we'll just move on then and to look for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Mayette, Councillor Stack, all in favor? Committee of the whole stands adjourned. We'll reconvene at council in 5 minutes.
3 minutes.
You want 3 minutes or you just want to carry on? All right, we'll carry on. All right, we'll just give staff 1 second here to switch gears. Let me switch gears.
Well, they had the wrong cord for the wrong laptop. That was the problem.
I just got your email on Eurocast.
Hi.
I saw that. I didn't realize that we hadn't approved it. That they did the same thing as they did to us up on the rail trail.
Yeah, so they're gonna get a
We're ready? Okay, it's probably fine. So we're ready. Okay, so I'd like to call to order this regular council meeting. And the second item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Asking a member if you have one of those you'd like to declare at this time. Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. We have no additions, deletions, or amendments. So we have a set of minutes to adopt and sorry, I just need to get to the resolution. Here we go. So I have a resolution that council adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting of June 10th, 2024, and note and file the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of June 10th, 2024 as presented. Is a mover and seconder, the Vice Deputy Mayor, Councilor Davinsky, all in favor? That is carried. All right, so next we are on to reports of the committee of the whole. And the first one is, oh, sorry, the close. Sorry, this is confusing me. My agenda's got to get used to e-scribe. Here we go. So, okay. So the recommendation is that council move into a closed public session in accordance with Municipal Act 2001, 2392K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to or to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. So is there mover and seconder?
I suggest that we perhaps jump to number 8, go through those before, and then come back to the close, so that those in the audience that don't need to stick around.
Sure. Is there any objection from council to advance to item 8 first? I don't see any objection, so we can do that. Okay, then. Sorry, here we go. So now we're on to where I was going before, reports of the committee of the whole. And 8.1 is June 10th, 2024 committee of the whole report. And the resolution is that council amend the asset management plan to include the non-core assets and related housekeeping revisions. 2, the council receive the citizen satisfaction measurement flash vote report for information. And 3, the council approve a transfer of $200,000 from the Victoria Street, Peel Street to Morpeth Street project to the Lisa Lane, Christopher Street to Davie Street project. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Grace, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. And then 8.2, committee of the whole report, June 10th for the town of Aurora support resolution. The resolution is the council endorse the town of Aurora's resolution that recognizes the importance of fostering community engagement and providing recreational opportunities. And the council requests the province and the Minister of Education to assist in making school board facilities available to local municipalities on a priority at a local cost recovery rate, and that a copy of this resolution be circulated to Premier Doug Ford, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Paul Calandra, the Minister of Education, Todd Smith, MP Ben Lobb, MPP Lisa Thompson, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Mayette, seconded by Davinsky. Questions or comments? Councillor Help.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I do support this, but I don't often find myself sticking up for the Blue Water District School Board, but I will a little bit here, where there are all kinds of events happening at that school. Be it Air Cadets, badminton, the Spark School, the baseball camp, the football camps. So I think that, like, I do support this, but I also think that it's good to recognize and build on the good things that they're doing. Yeah. And so I'm just offering that out there, that they are cooperative. And just like, if it's a nonprofit and it's to the benefit of people under 18, you're renting it for $100 a night. Mm-hmm. And you can use their basketball equipment and volleyball nets and everything for $100 a night. So there is a great deal of cooperation already. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. I think we acknowledged that last time as well, and you're absolutely right. And this is the purpose of this resolution is to simply really encourage the province to assist the school boards in helping to make that even more of a reality. And any support, I'm sure the board would appreciate any support they get from the province in supporting those facilities. So certainly support the resolution. Is there any further questions or comments? Seeing none, then all in favor? That is carried. Okay, so now, well, I guess, what do you want? We'll carry on through 9. We'll put this at the end. All right, put the close at the end, I mean. Okay, so there is, we'll go on to item 9 then. There's a Municipal Heritage Committee report on a heritage designation request, and there is a resolution that council directs staff to proceed with the designation of 117 Huron Streets of Lambton under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act for its historical and structural significance. Is there a mover and seconder? Councillor Grace. Councillor Halpin. Questions or comments? Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have before you a recommendation to support the designation request by Stevie Valance, who's the owner of 117 Huron Street South. At our May Municipal Heritage Committee meeting, Ms. Valance made a presentation about the heritage features of her home and requested the support of the committee, which we provided unanimously, and we were pleased to support it. So this request is asking for council's approval of her application to designate her home under the requirements of the Ontario Heritage Act. The latest designation regulations require that properties meet at least 2 of 9 heritage features that are required to meet provincial standards. This property, the application argues, meets 6 of the 9 criteria. Just very quickly, because it has a notable association with important individuals in Southampton's history. It is representative of the colonial revival architectural style. It was built by William and Eliza Knowles, who were community leaders of early tourism in Southampton. It's located very close to what's become known as the Knowles Block, which is an area comprised of the early Park Hotel, associated family homes and cottages, and the later famous Breakers Lodge, as well as the Dance Pavilion, which are all close to Southampton Beach and Morpeth Street. Just last fall, Ms. Valance, who herself is a renowned actress and musician, created, directed, and performed in a wonderful one-night musical called The Night Guy Came to Town at the Southampton Town Hall. There was a packed audience to receive the production, and the play told the story of Eliza Knowles and her role in bringing Guy Lombardo and his Royal Canadians to the Southampton Dance Pavilion in the 1930s. And what made this particularly special was that the performance featured descendants of Southampton residents from that time who live in Saugeen Shores now, and brought to life a vivid snapshot of Southampton's heritage and history. So the Heritage Committee is very pleased to support Ms. Valance's application to designate her home. And we'd also like to thank Sheila Latham, who's the winner of the 2024 Saugeen Shores Municipal Heritage Award, for her assistance in preparing this application. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. Are there comments or questions? The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And through you, this is perhaps a question for Councillor Grace, perhaps. Meeting the criteria, and it's a great report, thanks to Sheila. When this passes and the property gets designated, how are protections possible on the property when the vast majority of the property designation relates to basically the story of a person or that person? So, I'm just curious how the designation works to protect the property. And I should have asked you in advance. I apologize.
Well, I'm not an architectural expert or anything, but I know just from the material that has been presented to the Committee on Designation that if there is a suggested renovation or a required renovation because of some kind of damage or something that occurs, the way that this proceeds is to go to the Municipal Heritage Committee and to present plans of what needs to be done or what is being recommended to be done. I mean, we've had a fairly recent example in the last couple of years of someone that's home was designated in the 1990s who came to the Heritage Committee and is putting on a significant addition. And it's essentially up to, the committee decided that it wasn't going to be interfering with the integrity of the design of the home, especially what one sees from the street. So we approved of it and it went ahead. I guess in my experience, the town of Saugeen Shores has not been overly restrictive and prescriptive in terms of saying you have to have a particular kind of window or a particular kind of roof material or whatever. And I think that's a good thing. Because I think it's okay to have a property that is still there and is still a reminder of the people who built it originally, and that people can see, oh, there is a property plaque that the Municipal Heritage Committee gave after being requested by Ms. Valance in 2020, I believe. So there is a property plaque there from the Heritage Committee identifying it, and people can walk by and see that. And I think that's a good thing.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Seeing none then, thanks again for your work, Councilor Grace and the Heritage Committee, and I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. Okay, so now we're on to second item, which is a staff report on social athletics of Saugeen Shores Beach Volleyball Lease Agreement Amendment. And the resolution is the council adopt a bylaw to authorize the execution of an amending agreement to amend the lease agreement with 2402918 Ontario Incorporated, care of Robert Fawcett, Social Athletics of Saugeen Shores, dated May 27, 2024. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Helpin, seconded by Stack. Questions or comments? Councilor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report indicates to the director, the report indicates that this would be located off of Beach Road. And so I guess I'm wondering, where would the courts be specifically? The report indicates there's enough room, there would be minimal disruption. It's a very popular beach. And what the hours of use would be and the days of use?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So the hours of use and the time of use is consistent with the volleyball league that is ran in Port Elgin. It would operate on the same evenings. And sorry, what was your first question with that? Oh, the location, sorry. Yeah, so the location, my understanding is that if you go down to down at the bottom of Beach Street, and it's just to the right or to the north of that entrance, or where the large willow is, if you will. Yep.
Excuse me, sorry, just a follow up. So it would be in evenings, is it, I'm not familiar, is it like 7 o'clock or?
Yeah, that is correct. It is, or sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, it is in the evenings. I believe the start time is about 6 or 6:30 and then runs till approximately 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Vinsky.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Kristen. Kristen, will there be the same sort of rules that apply to Port Elgin? In other words, these nets will remain up and anybody can use them on the off hours?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that is correct.
Oh, great. That's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? Yeah, I think this is a really great news report. It's nice to see social athletics at Saugeen Shores expanding and providing the service in Southampton. I think that's going to be great. So I think I have a mover and seconder for that one, so I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. All right, I think that's the end of those. So we'll go right back. Is there one more? Oh, sorry, apologies. Omers. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, we have a staff report there on the Omer Special Project for non-full-time firefighters, and there is a resolution. The council direct the CAO to complete and sign the Omer's attestation regarding non-full-time employees acknowledging not applicable on behalf of the town of Saugeen Shores. Is there a mover and seconder? The deputy mayor and the vice deputy mayor. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, now that was all of them. So we'll go back to our closed session. I'll reread that resolution if I can find it. Here we go. All right, so the resolution is that council move into a closed public session in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001, Section 2392K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. And I'll ask for mover and seconder, moved by Stack, seconded by Halpin. All in favor? Council will now proceed to closed session. Okay, so I have a resolution. The council arise from the close of public session and resume the regular council meeting as their mover and seconder, Mayette and the vice deputy mayor, all in favor. That's carried, and I will report from closed. The council discussed disclosure of pecuniary interest, the adoption of the confidential closed to public meeting minutes, and we received information on the negotiation of a confidential matter. All right, so now we'll move on to item 11, which is bylaws. And there's one bylaw there, which is bylaw 53, 2024. And there's a resolution that bylaw 53, 2024 is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 24th day of June, 2024. Is there a mover and seconder, Help and the vice deputy mayor? All in favor? That is carried. And then on to confirmatory bylaw. And the resolution is that bylaw 54, 2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 24th day of June, 2024. Is there a mover and seconder, Help and Mayette? All in favor? That is carried. And finally, I have a resolution that this regular council meeting of June 24th, 2024 hereby adjourns at 8:03 p.m. Is there a mover and seconder? Grace and Davinsky, all in favor. Council stands adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody. Enjoy the hockey game. Go Oilers.